All right, so explosive strength and power, and talking a little bit about cluster sets. So firstly, what is a cluster set? All right, we've got our traditional set where we might do 3 sets of 8 repetitions. Yeah, lay down on the bench, smash out 8 reps, have a rest for anywhere between 60 seconds and 5 minutes, depending on what we're trying to achieve and what the aim of our training is, all right? A cluster set is where we break down those 8 reps, or however many it is we prescribe. The number of variables is infinite almost, okay? But a cluster set would work like this. Say if I was achieving a set of 8, I could do a cluster set, and I could do a set of 2, rest for 30 seconds, a set of 2, rest for 30 seconds, do that twice more. So I get to my 8 reps, but I have micro rests throughout the set, okay? And that's essentially what a cluster set is. We can use it in loads of different ways. We could do a single rep, 30-second rest, single rep, 30-second rest, single rep, 30-second rest to make for 3, so on and so forth. Makes sense, nice and easy, right? We've then got types of cluster set within that, okay? So we can go a linear cluster set where we stay the same weight throughout, okay? So use bench press for an example. I've got 100 kilos on the bar. I do 2 reps, I stick it back, I rest. Get it out, I do 2 reps, I stick it back, I rest. I get it out, I do 2 reps, stick it back, and I rest. That would be a linear cluster set, okay? Now I could do 100 kilos on my first set, 105 on my second set, 110 on my third set, for example. That would still be a linear cluster because throughout the entire 6 reps of the set, the micro rest, and then the weight stays the same. Undulating cluster sets, okay, these work slightly differently. So I might do a 95 kilo bench press for 2 reps, a 100 kilo bench press for 2 reps, a 105 kilo for 2 reps, and then drop back down to 95 kilos for another 2 reps, okay? So we're going up the weight and then back down the weight. We can go up 2, down 2, up 3, down 1. We can play a million different ways, okay? But that's undulating. Okay, and then the last one we've got is ascending, okay? Slightly simpler, but this way we're just building up. So I might go 95, 100, and then 105 kilos, okay? And that's the 3 types of cluster set that we can use and we can implement in our training. Why do we use them? All right, first one on here I've got is velocity, okay? By having those micro rests, it keeps the velocity of our movements much higher, all right? So if I were to get to 6 reps in a traditional set, by rep 6, my limb speed has come down dramatically. And as a fighter, I want to keep my limb speed and my velocity as high as possible because power equals force times velocity, right? Strength and speed of movement. So I want to keep that as high as possible, and cluster sets allow me to do that, especially the undulating cluster set, because it leads to a thing called post-activation potentiation, right? Where I've gone heavier, then come back down lower. My speed, my velocity of movement on that final set that's lighter will most likely be faster than it was on the first micro set that I did within my cluster, okay? So that's the first one. And also volume, okay? When we're trying to build strength and hypertrophy in different phases of our training, we want to add either strength endurance or power endurance, okay? Cluster sets allow us to do higher volume with heavier load, okay? So another really good use for the cluster set. Looking then at a 3 weeks out training session where I've used cluster sets, okay? So as always, a nice dynamic warm-up, followed that with some low-level plyo, things like pogos, hops, bounding, foot switches, ankling, high knees, and some low-level box depth jumps, okay? We then moved into our power phase, and I've done a push jerk using an undulating cluster set, okay? So I've done 4 single reps for 3, okay? So 1 rep, rest, 1 rep, rest, 1 rep, rest, 1 rep, rest. Nice and simple. Yeah, and here I've got my weights, yeah? So set 1, 90 kilos, followed by 95, followed by 100, followed by a 90, okay? Working on that velocity. And as we look down, we can see where I went to on that. Next, I moved into some explosive strength, where I'm using here an ascending cluster set, okay? On the close grip bench press. So I did 4 of 2, okay? So making it into 8 reps total, and I did 3 sets of that. And each time I did 2 reps, I then add a little bit of weight. 2 reps, add a little bit of weight, okay? And then each set got slightly heavier as well, okay? And that allowed me to still get a volume of 6 reps per set, okay, but go much higher, producing much more force than normal, and also to keep my velocity nice and high, thinking at the minute, 3 weeks out, okay, I want to be moving with speed, okay, and with power. Next, I did single arm ring inverted rows. These turned into single arm TRX inverted rows. Same difference, right? And these I did a linear cluster, okay? I put down here 6 over 1. I actually ended up doing 6 over 2 in the session because that felt better, okay? And that's fine. Sometimes our plan is just a guide, right? And we've got to go off how we're feeling at the time. But I did 2 reps, stood up, shook it off. 2 reps, stood up, shook it off. Okay, until I got to 6, and I did that twice through, okay? Finally, then, I went down to some rotational strength, some landmine crosses supersetted with med ball rotations, okay? Then into some med ball power drills, some single ballistic movements, really firing the med ball at the wall. And I finished off with a little bit of conditioning here, working on my arm speed, okay? As you can see, this being an upper body session. So I got the battle ropes out, okay? I did 15 seconds work, maximum intensity with a 45 seconds rest 5 times in a variety of different things. Thank you very much. I hope you've taken something away from this, okay? And I hope you've learned a little bit about cluster sets and how you can use them. In terms of when to implement them, I'd implement cluster sets towards the back end of your fight camp, right? It's quite an advanced lifting and training mechanism. So unless you've been training for a while, you potentially don't need them, okay? And you certainly don't want to input them too early in your training cycle leading up to a fight, because then where do you go from there, okay? These were a great way to start to progress on what you've been doing all around throughout the year. Hope you've learned something. Hope you've progressed, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Peace.